Did the prophets know what they were prophesying about? Oh, this is a great, really important question. Let's see what the Bible says. All right, let's keep going. We got a lot of questions. Here's a fun one. This question that says this. Pastor Wolmueller, did the prophets know about what they were prophesying? This is a great question because it has to do with how we read the Bible and especially how we read the Old Testament. We a lot of times think that the prophets in the Old Testament, we know that they were moved by the Holy Spirit. That's what Peter says, that the holy men of God spoke as they were moved by the Holy Spirit, so that the Holy Spirit inspired the prophets to say what they were saying. But did they understand it? For example, when Isaiah preaches about the virgin birth, did he understand what he was saying? Or when Moses says that when he hears that God will raise up a prophet like you from among your brethren, did he understand what was being said? Or when Micah was talking about Bethlehem, did he understand what was happening? Or when David was praying Psalm 22, my God, why have you forsaken me? Did he understand what was happening? That's a great, and I think this is an important question because I think a lot of times we just assume that the prophets didn't know. They were like in a trance, like some sort of shammy sort of thing. Like they were just sort of like when you see these horror movies and like someone's possessed and they just say something and they don't even know what they're saying. Ooh, something like that. But this is not how the prophets were, and I want to prove it to you. This is a key text for understanding the Old Testament. It's in the New Testament, and it's in Peter's Pentecost sermon. For those of you following along at home, it's Acts chapter 2, starting in, let's just start in verse 24. Well, let's see, 23. Well, let's see, 22. Acts chapter 2, verse 22. Peter says, Men of Israel, hear these words. Jesus of Nazareth, a man attested by God to you by miracles, wonders, and signs, which God did through him in your midst, as you yourselves also know, him being delivered by the determined purpose and foreknowledge of God, you have taken by lawless hands, have crucified and put to death, whom God raised up, having loosed the pains of death, because it was not possible that he should be held by it. For David says concerning him, I foresaw the Lord always before my face, for he is at my right hand, therefore I shall not be shaken. Therefore my heart rejoiced, my tongue was glad, moreover my flesh also will rest in hope, for you will not leave my soul in Hades, nor will you allow your Holy One to see corruption. You have made known to me the ways of life, you will make me full of joy in your presence. Psalm 16. Now, listen to what Peter says about this. Men and brethren, let me speak freely to you of the patriarch David, that he is both dead and buried, and his tomb is with us to this day. In fact, the tomb of David is still there now, but I'm not reading, I'm telling you. The tomb of David is still in Jerusalem, and when we were there had been some sort of, this is a couple summers ago, and someone had come along, and there was like some protest at the tomb of David, and so we were in the upper room, which is right next to the tomb of David, and we started singing a communion hymn, and the guard came over with a gun and told us to be quiet because they thought we were protesting it. Anyway, tomb of David, still there. Peter continues, verse 30, Acts chapter 2, verse 30. Therefore, being a prophet, and knowing that God had sworn with an oath to him of the fruit of his body, talking about David, according to the flesh, he would raise up the Christ to sit on his throne. He, that is David, foreseeing this, spoke concerning the resurrection of the Christ, that his soul was not left in Hades, nor did his flesh see corruption. So this is the thing that I want to pick up in here, that David foresaw all of these things. David foresaw that the Christ would be born of his flesh. David foresaw that the Messiah would be killed and would be raised and would be seated at the right hand of heaven. David saw these things, and therefore he prophesied about them. It's not like David didn't know what he was saying. David precisely did know what he was saying. And this is so important for our understanding of the prophets, that the prophets knew what they were talking about. That the prophets knew what was going on when they were given these prophecies, which is so nice to think about, that if you were around when Isaiah was preaching and he's saying, hey, virgin birth, you could go say, hey, what? What are you talking? What do you mean? What are you talking about? And so forth. So that you could go and they could explain it to you. They could tell you exactly what's going on. That Micah, when he was prophesying about Bethlehem, knew that he was prophesying about the Messiah. That even Moses, he knew these prophets knew these things. By faith, they held on to these things, and they spoke concerning the things that they knew. Now, they knew, Hebrews 11 tells us, they knew in part, not fully, and yet they knew. Great question. All right. Man, I love these questions. If you guys got some more, post them up below, or even better, if you go to the website, wolfmueller.co, there's a contact button, and you can questions there. We'll take them up some more.